Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a new episode of the holistic approach. And in today's episode, we are focusing on symmetry and everything that you might have to know in regards to your facial symmetry, body symmetry, and any eventual solutions that you could try in order to improve your overall score. But before that, we need to address a few things. First, I'm not a doctor. I am just a guy like you who likes to research things related to health and self-improvement, and it just happens to be that having a symmetrical face is one of those things. So for a couple of months, I've been doing research, trying to understand and underpin the reasons why we don't have facial symmetry, the reason why my face was lopsided, the reason why I had pain on my jaw and all of that. And it's quite funny because, people usually try to see these in black or white. They'd be like, oh, okay, I'm sleeping on my side, so I have facial symmetry because of that. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. Like, you need to address first a few things, such as like, all right, I have TMG, but why is that? For instance, facial asymmetry can be caused by several factors. There can be mechanics, and by mechanics I mean perhaps you might have had some trauma, or maybe the way in which you chew your food. You might be used to eat foods that are really hard, let's say, or that require a lot of effort to chew. And basically, all of these can be really detrimental over time, because if you put too much pressure on your masseters and your jaw, this ends up wearing down the TMG joint, which then results in you developing issues like facial asymmetry or facial imbalances, or perhaps you might have one side of your face more sensitive than the other. So perhaps you stop chewing in this side and you start chewing all in this side. But the issue then aggravates itself, because since you're only chewing this side, you're putting too much pressure on this side, and you end up creating a lot of other issues. Well, it's a combination of like behavioral factors, like I said, alongside epigenetics, mechanics, but at the same time, it's also really, and I mean really heavily connected to your own genetics, because like, as you probably know, we are predisposed to have certain things more than others or less than others. And facial symmetry involves the structure of your whole face and bones, including muscles and all of that. So if you're naturally predisposed towards having imbalances, then that's just going to aggravate everything. And epigenetics too, because maybe you're predisposed to sleep on your sides instead of your back, or you might be more predisposed towards only sleeping in one side instead of like maybe shifting every now and then. And all of these leads to you increasing the odds of having facial asymmetry. However, this is not the root. This is what you need to understand in order to find the correlation between your own situation and all the other underlying problems that might be out there, because there is no one fixed solution to everything here and nowhere else in life, to be honest. I can give you the tools to understand what you might be suffering from, but the rest is your own game. You have to sort it out by yourself. I can only tell you what I did personally. Perhaps it could be the same, perhaps it could be slightly different, perhaps it's totally different. And this video is meant to tell you about some of these problems and how to address them based on how I did it. Okay, so what's next? One thing that happens really often is that TMJ, or any other issue that involves the sphenoid bone, which is the bone just behind your maxilla, which determines the asymmetry of your upper jaw, For instance, if your sphenoid is slightly tilted towards one side or the other, let's say that it's tilted towards the right, what's going to happen is that your right eye will be uneven. So it's going to be shifted towards this side, you know what I mean? And that's going to make you look, your eyes asymmetrical. And when you see this, it's always because of the sphenoid bone, which is something that most people don't even talk about, which is quite funny because like it's not just TMJ, it's the sphenoid bone, the temporal bones, and it's also the sternocleidomastoid mastoid muscle, which is extremely important because it's what leads to us tilting our necks or having neck cervical issues, which is then what prevents us from sleeping in our backs. So you have to think about all of these things holistically. You can't just be like, oh, all right, I have TMJ, what can I do to solve it? Nope. You need to address the root of the problem, which usually lies within the body itself. So let me give you a really, really stupid and simple example. Okay. If you have a pelvis tilt, what happens is your pelvis is shifted towards one side, maybe it could be downwards, upwards, or it could even be tilted forward or backwards, okay? Slanted and inclined or whatever. What this results is you affecting heavily your lower backward area, this side here, which results in you developing conditions such as scoliosis, which is when your back is bent like this. The natural S-curve is aggravated further in different areas of the backbone. Maybe it could be in between the first vertebrae, or it could be in the middle of the back or in the upper back. But alongside scoliosis, you might also develop conditions such as kyphosis, lordosis, and it usually doesn't really come as a combination of all of them, but it can happen too. And you should probably check out the hate maxing guide because I also address some of these things, and they are really fucking correlated to facial symmetry because, you know, it arises from the body. And as I was saying, if you have your pelvis tilted, what happens is that you develop scoliosis. And after developing scoliosis or all of the other underlying backbone issues, this reflects straight after on your cervical neck issues, okay? So what this brings in is tension on your C2 and C4 vertebrae, which then leads to having too much pressure on your sternocleidomastoid muscle, which are this big ass muscle that comes from like this way, like this side, all the way up until your neck, and it connects your jawline, okay? So it's connected here, and once you have too much pressure on it, you end up shifting the natural position of your whole face, which could be lopsided in one way or the other, okay? So maybe if you have scoliosis, this reflects onto your neck, and then instead of like staying straight like this, you will start to like slowly tilt your head one way or the other, okay? Which then leads to having unequal distribution of gravity on your face. So what happens then is that your face will start to shift towards one side in order to compensate for the new variation in the conformation of your face, okay? So your body will constantly adapt to anything that it gets presented to, and having unequal distribution of gravity will mess it up because your body will think that, okay, this is the natural balance, so I'm gonna reallocate some of the muscles and eventually bones into finding ways to make it work because you're trying to make the least amount of effort. And if your neck and the whole body is asymmetrical, it's gonna be a lot of effort for your body to keep everything working in the way that it should while keep your face symmetrical. So it's going to be asymmetrical too, okay? And something that is extremely underlooked, I think, is that we are only sleeping 1/3 of our days, okay? So whenever you see somebody telling you, okay, just sleep on your back, bro, yeah, that for the most will do something, will help a lot, but standalone will not really fix the problem. Okay, you will become more symmetrical, of course, because like 1/3 is always better than 0/3 and all that. However, you need to address the other issues. Okay, you can't just be like, I'm gonna sleep on my back and maybe I'm gonna chew in both sides, or I'm gonna start chewing bilaterally, and by extension I will become some PSL god. Nope, it doesn't work like that. So in my case, as I said previously, it's always better to understand what's the real root cause. Because like if you're TMJ, sorry to break it to you, you most likely have some backbone issues. You most likely have some cervical issues. You most likely have some pelvis issues, which then reflects into your whole body. So address that first, and then you can start doing all of the exercises. You can start doing all of the fucking, I'm gonna start chewing mastic gums and all of that. But if you have scoliosis and shit, even if you actually improve your facial symmetry, you will just relapse back into your previous state once you stop doing the exercises, because your body is not meant to be in that way. It's putting a lot of effort into your body to stay symmetrical. If your whole body is not symmetrical, so fucking address that first. And watch my hate max guide and the hate max exercises that I've been doing to fully revert back my scoliosis, because you know what? I had a 67 degrees kyphosis curve and had a 27 and 24 curve on my scoliosis, okay? They told me that I was fucked, and the only way that could help me to totally revert back my scoliosis was through surgery. And guess what? It took 6 years, and I'm still doing exercises on a daily basis. However, I managed to revert back my scoliosis and my kyphosis to the normal curvature. Okay, so I have completely got rid of it, and I did this since I was 15, 16, and now 21. So that is all, guys. It's not impossible to fix scoliosis. It's not impossible to fix kyphosis without surgery. You just have to do it carefully, do it through a plan, do it holistically. And once you address the issue in this way, everything will be possible. Okay, and it's also patience. Like, you won't see your results overnight, but if you are consistent enough and you do it in the slow but right way, eventually you will reach all of your goals. And it doesn't really apply to just facial symmetry, to getting in shape, but it applies to everything in life. So that's the only advice that I will give you. Anyways, now that we have understood more or less what can cause facial asymmetry, we have talked about how genetics, behavior mechanics, and all of the other underlying issues might correlate to facial symmetry. We have discussed how your facial symmetry might be determined by some underlying issues such as backbone, pelvis tilt, and all that. What's left to address is what I did in order to improve my facial symmetry. Okay, so it was a multi-step process, okay, which wasn't really planned as well as it should have since the beginning. However, I basically started by sleeping on my sides to make things a bit more comfortable, because I wasn't really used to sleep on my back, and I couldn't really do that straight away. So I started sleeping, instead of in this side of the face, which is where my face was mainly lopsided, I started sleeping on this side, okay? Which was a little bit of effort. It felt strange at first, but eventually your body gets used to it. And as I said, I managed to fix my scoliosis. So for me, it wasn't as difficult. I didn't have as much pressure on my neck or on my sternocleidomastoid muscle. So although it felt uncomfortable, it wasn't something that I couldn't really cope with. And eventually, as these got more and more comfortable, I started seeing changes on my face that were really apparent. Like, I think that in the first 2 weeks, I saw a really big difference in overall facial symmetry. Because, I've been sleeping on this side for like so long, and I was literally pushing so much more gravity, pulling so much more gravity on this side of the face that I was literally shifting my whole face towards this side. But by addressing the issue, what happened is that it slowly started like shifting back, all right? But what I realized really quickly after the 4th week was that the progress was kind of stopping. Like I wasn't seeing as dramatic changes as I did initially. And also another thing is, well, by sleeping on the opposite side of your bed, you are risking to create the same issue if you have still facial asymmetry, okay? Because like, if you sleep for too long in the opposite side, it's not just like, you know, a can or a glass of water. So like, if you're putting it this way, water will stay in this side, and if you're putting it this way, the water will be on the other side. No, it's a gradual process, and by sleeping in the opposite side, you might create further imbalances over time if you are always doing that. So what's left to address? I was like, okay, I can't keep doing this because my facial will just end up becoming more asymmetrical, and I'm starting to have pain and malocclusion issues. Because yeah, that's another important part, is how your teeth are occluding. And I was going to discuss this a bit further on, but if your molars are not contacting with each other, and if your frontal teeth are not touching each other, it means that you have some underlying issues on your oral jaw, which can then reflect exactly onto how symmetrical you are. You might even not have TMJ, to be honest. What could you have is simply asymmetries, small asymmetries on your sphenoid bone and your temporal bones, which are the ones of the lower jaw, which then leads to having problems like malocclusion. And yes, you won't have TMJ straight away, but eventually you will develop it. And yeah, anyways, let's get back to the point. When I stopped sleeping on the opposite side, I started sleeping on my back. And I'll be honest with you, the progress wasn't as dramatic, because now I'm pulling gravity evenly and not just in one side or the other. But another solution that I tried was using mastic gums, okay? Mastic gums like the Felon gum, which is a Torquay chewing gum that helps to strengthen your jawline, the masseters, and in overall to restore that nerve connection. Because I was literally always chewing in this side, sleeping on this side, which kind of made me lose the sensitivity and the nerve connection to this side of my face, which made my left jaw muscles a lot weaker than the right ones. So I had to find balance, to restore balance, and one of the ways was to the consumption of a mastic gum. And basically, in the beginning of the 3rd week, I began doing on a daily basis a series of exercises, which I think are called facial exercise. I don't even call the name actually. I might put it on the description. And yeah, basically these exercises are meant to restore the nerve connection, to restore the balance, and to help repositioning the pterygoid muscle, which is basically this muscle here, which is what's mainly responsible for how your sphenoid bone and your temporal bones are occluding with each other, okay? So I started doing some really stupid exercises that made me look extremely autistic, like, or even you open your mouth, I got it, and see, when you go like this, you put pressure on this pterygoid muscle, which I can't even pronounce, to be honest, but you know what it is, you see? Then you do the same in the opposite side. I mean, you don't even have to open your mouth, to be honest, especially if you do all the other exercises, but this is a really quick fix, okay? If the only issue that you have at the moment is malocclusion, and you're extremely lucky, this will probably do just about it. You will see massive improvement in how your teeth and jawline are occluding. and will help you to improve your facial symmetry, because like if you restore the natural positioning of your sphenoid, what's going to happen is that your eyes are no longer going to be asymmetrical. You won't have any more the asymmetrical nose, which will shift in one side or the other. And by also fixing the temporal bones, what's going to happen is that your jawline will be more symmetrical. Okay. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter whether you have lower jaw or upper jaw asymmetry. What matters the most is you addressing that individual part. Okay, and by doing these exercises, you can do both. So if you don't have any asymmetries in your lower jaw, you will most likely just end up fixing the natural positioning of your sphenoid. And there are a bunch of exercises that I did, and I talked about this in the previous upload, where I showed my daily facial exercise routine, which also, to be honest, could involve chiropractic and orthodontics. But to be honest, I keep myself away from this because, you know, it doesn't really take much to screw up. But there are several exercises, like let's say that your jawline keeps locking, for instance, which can then result into you developing TMJ or in general aggravate your facial asymmetries. Usually this requires surgery, because like if your face is clicking and locking itself for a couple of months, there is not really much that you can do at that point. That's like literally one of the final stages of this whole thing. However, by pulling your hand in your mouth like this, and then in the back, looking down right here, and there is basically something that you can pop. I never did it myself, to be honest, so I don't know how to do it. But if you search on YouTube, you will find some people that will actually fucking pop their jawline to put it back in place. And you can do this, or basically there is also like this joint here. So if you put yourself on a bed, or you know, like the physiotherapist bed, or like hospital beds or whatever, you have to open your jaw like that and find the TMJ joint, okay? Which in my case, here, you know, this is where it usually clicks. So what's gonna happen is that the chiropractor or orthodontics or whatever, the person that is meant to do the fucking thing, will try to find the joint to relieve some of the tension, and then with one side of his face, boom, and they will basically crack it. And what this will do is that it will put back the disc that is meant to be attached to your temporal mandibular joint, and which is the whole thing that causes TMJ issues, because like you can't fully open one side of your jawline because like the disc that is meant to let your jaw slide is no longer connected, and it restricts the movement, so you can't fully open your mouth, and it makes it painful when you are chewing because you don't have that layer of protection as well. Okay, and you can put it back. Okay, but that only works in the beginning of this, because like, okay, you can still crack it theoretically, but you might aggravate the issue. So if it's like really mild TMJ issue, you could consult a specialist and see what your options could be. And this will basically fix your TMJ, and it will improve massively your facial symmetry, even without having to go through a lot of exercises. Because I spend almost on a daily basis 15 to even 20 minutes at times performing these exercises. I don't do this on a daily basis, by the way. I do it on 2 days on and 2 days off straight, which is not really the best routine, but it has been working for me. To be better to do like 2 days on and 1 day off, but whatever. And yeah, so we have addressed sleeping on your back, sleeping on your side, chewing with mastic gums, and performing some facial exercises or orthodontics that can help you to put it back in place, a lower jawline, which is pretty much what you can do, because like you can't really reshift the position of your sphenoid bone, because yeah, it's on the upper side and it's literally behind maxilla, so there is not much you can do about that besides sleeping on your back. Because like one of the main besides trying to fix your posture and any underlying issues that you might have, like scoliosis and so on. Because like sphenoid bone, for some reason, I don't know why and how, to be honest, but based on what I searched and studied, it's heavily connected to posture, okay, and it goes in both ways. So like having sphenoid issues will lead to posture problems, and having posture problems will lead to sphenoid problems, okay. So what you want to do first and address is finding ways to fix your whole fucking thing, okay. You don't want to just do one or the other, otherwise you will make progress but you will be stuck at some point. And I'm not saying that you can achieve 100% symmetry, because that's impossible. However, you can greatly improve your facial symmetry, and I am the proof of that. And there are also a couple of supplements that you might take, like collagen, to improve the production of, you know, the liquid that surrounds the jawline and that helps it to slide across, you know, the bones and stuff. And for instance, I used to take some collagen supplements, as I said. Vitamin D also helps with the uptake of calcium, which then leads to better health on your bones. Since you will be doing lots of exercises, this might put an additional strain on your bones and on your muscle in your face. So taking some supplements might help you to speed up the process even more. And I might make a video about this further on if I see enough interest in the topic. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I did, to be honest. Like, the exercises are on my TikTok page, and I might upload them soon on my YouTube channel too, in under a longer format where I explain individually every single exercise. Sleeping on your back is important. That helps to bring back the balance. It's not going to lead to progress that is just as quick, of course, but over time it will lead to much better result than sleeping in one side or the other. And then once you reach enough symmetry, you can start to sleep one day in one side and one day in the other, because at the end of the day it balances out. So if I'm sleeping one day on my right side and then one day on the left, it's literally like sleeping on my back for like 2 days, all right? Because gravity in this way, equal, okay? So it's literally just about being patient, keep carrying on with the whole process, the exercises, the routines, and try to be conscious when you're eating as well. Like don't chew in this fucking side or the other. Like in my case, I had TMJ in this way, like in this side of my face. So if I kept chewing, what's going to happen is that this side will keep fucking screwing itself, okay? And it will keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse, which is why when I'm saying I used to chew with mastic gums, fuck no, I wasn't chewing in this side with TMJ. I was only chewing in the other side. So then I could like find ways to rebalance the thing. Alright, you don't want to fucking screw this, okay? Because trust me, doing any exercises to like increase your masseters, to get like bigger jawline and shit, that deviates outside of the exercises that I showed you on the video, which help you to bring back the connection, is something that you really don't want to do, at least not now. Once you have enough symmetry, once you have reached the point where it doesn't really come off as a detrimental part of your routine, then yeah, but up until then, avoid it at all costs, because that's just gonna make your TMJ worse. And I'll tell you this, like once it gets worse enough in one side, what's going to happen is that you will stop using the side altogether, which is going to put too much pressure on the other side and then lead to TMJ on that side too. And once both joints are fucked, what's going to happen is that you will end up having recurring issues of basically your joint blocking itself, and you won't be able to like stack it unless you do the fucking exercise that I showed you earlier that helps you to bring it back in place. And there are also surgeries that you could do, to be honest. Like I see some people putting Botox on one side or the other to bring back the balance, but you know, Botox is a temporary solution. It usually doesn't really stay there for like too long. Your body start to find ways to get rid of it over time. So you're gonna have to do constant Botox injections over time to keep that facial symmetry. So that's pretty much one of the worst approaches that you might take, in my opinion. But there are also some other surgeries that you might take which one is called arthroscopy, I think, which involves in sliding off the bone, which sounds crazy, you know, but it's not really invasive. They will just do a really small cut on your jaw, and then they will try to like readjust the bone by cutting a really small part of it, and then this will basically help you to bring back the balance. And another thing that you might also do is, okay, as I said previously, occlusion is extremely important. So perhaps let's say that you don't have any tangent issues, you don't have any sphenoid inclinations or whatever, and you don't have any temporal bones issues. Perhaps what you could have is crooked teeth. So when you have too much teeth in one way or the other, or perhaps you, for some reason, your teeth are not occluding in the way that it should. Well, in this case, wearing I don't even know how you call this in English. Fuck. I'm so sorry, guys. I slept like 3 hours today, and I'm kind of struggling. But you can wear that, and what's gonna do is that basically it will help you to bring back the balance on your face. Okay, so once your teeth are occluding in the way that it showed, I'm not saying that it will lead to like instant perfect symmetry, but it will lead over time to your face adjusting itself to that new order that your face has, and improve massively your symmetry score. Okay, and that's pretty much all that you can do, to be honest, like addressing the sternocleidomastoid muscle, which then helps to not have any hair tails, and which then reflects into your whole face, addressing the pelvis, your backbone issues, your jawline, your sphenoid, temporal, mandibular. Do the exercises, and if you feel bold enough with yourself, you might even try doing some of the chiropractic facial exercises that might help you to improve the overall symmetry score. But as I said, I don't feel confident enough in doing that, so all yours. There are a bunch of videos on YouTube, so just give it a look and see how it goes. Anyways, this is all, guys, and I'm sorry for having kept this for so long, and I'm going to make a couple of other videos addressing some of the questions that you guys might have, so don't shy away from commenting, and I mean, the top comments, I guess, we receive a video or me explaining whatever they want to know about the topic. And yes, guys, thanks for watching. I know this was long. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you now have enough tools to fully understand how facial symmetry works and how to address your own problem like I did with mine. And yeah, nothing else to say. Peace.